Okay, hey guys, welcome back to another episode of Talking Business on the Kobi Simmat audio experience on the Kobi Simmat podcast, live on YouTube, live on LinkedIn, live on the television right next to me right now. Okay, my apologies, just a bit of technical difficulties there. You found the remote underneath? Yes, okay. So if you can get that set back up, that'd be fantastic. Okay, getting into it, in this quick live video, we're going to be talking about the people in your organization. So I've got a question for you. If you're somebody who is the leader in an organization, this is quite a challenging question. Are all the stakeholders in your organization, your staff, your customers, your suppliers, people in your organization, are they all happy? And if you had the chance, would you rehire them? That's an interesting question. I live by this philosophy that hiring is guessing. Customers, suppliers, staff for your organization, team members for your organization. Hiring is guessing, firing is knowing. So what do we do about that? And today is really to talk about some of the challenges with people and essentially groups of people. When they come together to work, they're called an organization and organizations. And that's one of the massive things that we do here at Best Practice. We're helping, our big, passionate, worthy cause is helping organizations to be great places to work, great places to buy from, so that your organization's customers have a great buying experience, and thus the organization becomes a great investment. So I thought it was kind of timely that we jump on and talk about some of the things that we can use in a high performance program, where we're coaching for high performance in an organization, where we can start managing the high performing corporate team or organizational team in the way that a high performance sports team might function, if you like. So one of the things that happens obviously in high performance corporate teams that's different to, say, high performance sports teams is that players are maybe allowed to play for a little bit longer than they should. So in a high performance sporting team, the team is constantly being adjusted and coached and performance managed to get the high performance result. And if a player is underperforming, then they're let go from the team. That's a little bit more difficult to do in the corporate environment. And some might say, well, that's because that's someone's job. Well, that's no different to a high performance sports team, but particularly professional sports teams. That's their job, but they accept that if they don't perform, they're going to get let go, and they're constantly focusing on performing. But what we find in companies, in the organizations, it's not as clear, crystal clear in terms of performance and tracking performance and what is success. And so sometimes we can let players or people stay on teams a little bit longer. So there's that really interesting question. Is everybody happy? Are your suppliers, your customers, your staff happy? And if you had the chance, would you rehire them? And I think that's a good question when you're looking at individuals on teams, and we're starting to think about how we manage teams and we improve teams, is to ask that question. Would you rehire that person? Or when you're coaching a leader or coaching a manager, if you're in that role or you're working with a leader or a manager, ask that question. And then the second thing is, would you hire them for that role? Or would you hire them, generally speaking, are they a good cultural fit? Or would you hire them for that role? Might hire them for a different role. So some of the technical, mechanical tools, tips and tricks that I've got for you today really starts with the first one. So we want to coach for high performance. So at one end of the spectrum, we want to coach for high performance. And at the other end of the spectrum, we want to coach someone for survival, or we want to offboard them. So how can we bring up an underperforming person? And how can we also help coach for high performance? So I've got this really, really quick little acronym, which I picked up from a book, Traction by Gino Wickman. And it's get it, want it, capacity. So if you're looking at, say, an underperforming person, do they get it? Do they want it? And do they have capacity? And capacity can be broken down into emotional resilience to do the work, the skills and competency. So they've got the physical capacity to do the work. They're available during the hours that the work is required to be done. So some people might be part-time, some people might be full-time, some people might be in a different time zone. So we've got to consider capacity. And sometimes capacity can actually restrict someone's abilities in terms of whether they want the role or whether they get it. Particularly if somebody is fatigued and they just don't have the capacity, they don't have the mental capacity because they've got other responsibilities in life. They don't have the responsibility capacity, if you like. So it's a really interesting tool that you can start practicing. And I've covered it in a few other videos here on the YouTube channel that you can go and do a search down for some of the other people videos on the Best Practice YouTube channel. We've talked about in some of the other podcasts, but just to revisit it, write the person's name and then next to it, write get it, want it, capacity, and give them, a plus, minus, or a minus. Give them a cross, a circle, or a tick. And it is pretty black and white. Somebody who gets ticks, gets it, wants it, has capacity. They get to stay. Somebody who's got some zeros, if you like, maybe doesn't get to stay. Someone who's definitely got crosses, we need to think about moving them on from the position that they're in because they're handicapping the rest of the team. And this comes back to protecting the team and the team's ability to perform. If you've got a number of really underperforming teams, they're going to bring the whole team down. And not only that, they're going to handicap the A players. And the A players are not going to want to work as hard. They're not going to be as motivated. They're not going to be as happy because they're having to make compromises and sacrifices because of what we would call the C players. So the next thing I can talk about is this concept of A players, B players, and C players. So I've talked about this before in a few videos, but it's worth revisiting in the context of this, how do we scale up people in your organization? We can talk about C players. Now, C players are somebody who gets across. You're off-board C players. You kind of go, we can continue to invest in this person and we are committed to continuing to invest in our team members, but this person's just not going to go anywhere. They're not getting it, they don't want it, and they don't have capacity to do it. They're a C player. So you say, look, it's not working out on our side. I think it's time for you to leave. And so while it's important that you may then be affecting someone's livelihood, and I do take that on board with a very heavy heart, that, okay, use the resources that you've got to help find that person the next step on their pathway of their career journey. So you are helping them to essentially identify what they do want to do, what they do get, what they do have the capacity to do, because they're not going to continue to be remunerated at your organization because your organization's not getting fair exchange. So the exchange policy, the fair exchange of productivity and results for the money that's paid in salary and wages. And we forget to include that in conversations, particularly here in Australia, where we've got quite complex industrial relations legislation. It's hard to have that conversation, but it does come down to someone's ability to keep offering fair exchange. So it's goods and services. And we sometimes forget that the employer and the employee are a customer-supplier relationship. Yeah. So we can start thinking about that. So what we want to be doing is we want to be saying it's a C player. A C player is not offering up fair exchange. It's not fair exchange because they're not delivering results. They're not delivering the right outcomes in exchange for the money they're being paid. And so they need to be offboarded from the organization. Now, there is a key question. Are they coachable? Can we see improvement? And is that improvement happening fast enough? Then they may be a B player. A B player is going to get some ticks, get it, want it, capacity, and maybe values alignment. They're going to get some ticks and they're going to get some zeros, but they probably don't have any crosses. And so they're going to potentially be a B player, which means they're showing signs that with some more investment or more effective investment, more effective learning, development, training, professional development, that person is coachable up to an A player. Can we get this person up to an A player? How much effort and energy and money is it going to take to get them up there? Can we get them up there? And you can think about that. So whether you're bumping them down to a C player or bumping them, you want to bump them up to an A player, but your B players, you've got to move them. You can't just let them to continue to be B players. You've got to keep investing in them, get them up to being A players. Sometimes with a B player, move their position a little bit, subtly change their position, and it might start working out more effectively. And I'll talk about that shortly, but I want to talk about A players. You want to celebrate A players because A players are genuinely working really hard. They're very invested. They're doing their own professional development. They're buying their own courses. One of the things we see here at Best Practice, because we sell professional development and education and training, is we see people complaining to us that their boss won't pay for the course that they want to do. It's like our courses are not that expensive that you can't afford to pay for it for yourself. And that's kind of a little bit of a rant in terms of what we see. But one of the things that I'm constantly challenged by, I have people that work for me that buy courses and buy books and do all their professional development themselves. They don't sit back and wait for their employer or me to pay for stuff. That's a sign of an A player, because they want to move forward in their career and they're not going to wait for the organization to support them on that. The organization is always going to be looking for a return on investment. So if you can pitch the return on investment and you can really show it and demonstrate it and deliver the return on investment, then you're more likely to have the education training you want to do funded by the organization. So we've worked through C players, B players, and A players. It's important as the leader of a team that's got some A players to celebrate those people, to acknowledge those people, to reward the positive behaviors that you're seeing and the positive results, because then the B players will see what gets rewarded. What gets rewarded is results. What gets rewarded is performance. What gets rewarded is the deliverables, the exchange in abundance. We talked about fair exchange and not fair exchange. Like if you're taking a salary and not doing your job, that's called criminal exchange. You're stealing. If you have days where you don't do your job and you just fuck around, excuse my language, sorry, LinkedIn, that is criminal, okay? If you have other impacts on your day, which is not intentional, then it's partial exchange. Equal exchange of results for wages and salary is fair exchange, and going beyond the call of duty is called exchange in abundance. And exchange in abundance is something that I try to do. If I commit to something, if I promise to something, I try to go beyond the call of duty. I try to go with exchange in abundance, with lots of output, and that's why I do lots of these videos for you guys for free. So that's something that I really want you to be thinking about: C player, B player, A player. And I know you guys all want to be A players. Sometimes if you're in the wrong position, you can struggle to be an A player. And so it is important for you guys to also say, well, if I'm not in the right position, then do what you need to do to get yourself into the right position, either at the company that you're currently at or at a different company. That's an important part of that process. Okay, but how do we manage these people on our team? Well, we want to reward these people. We want to publicly acknowledge the results and the high performance of our A players, because then people will see what gets rewarded and what gets acknowledged. We don't want to do it on subjective merit. It needs to be on objective data and facts and the results, and we can see the results, and then they get acknowledged for those results. They kick the goal, we give them a reward. They get acknowledgement. Everybody celebrates them. You see that in high performance football teams, in soccer. You see when someone scores a goal, the whole team rallies together and celebrates that success, the team's success. It kind of happens by, automatic function. We want to start seeing that in corporate teams, and that is one of the symptoms of success. So when you're thinking about high performance, think about what high performance teams do to build rapport, to get good communications channels, to hold each other accountable, to have the safe space to be saying, well, this is our worthy cause, this is our objective as a team, versus the opposite of that, which is this toxic culture of, cutting down tall poppies in an organization. If that's the toxic culture, I don't want to work in that toxic culture. I don't want to coach companies that have that toxic culture. In fact, if the company says, yes, actually we want to get rid of it, then I'll try. But if the company's not stepping up to it, then I'll walk away. I don't want to work with organizations or in organizations that are doing that. So it's really about actually, okay, it does take time. We can start to think about over time, where do we want to get to? Okay, so we've touched on this concept of, just to quickly revise, get it, want it capacity, or GWC. And when you are talking about someone who's underperforming, maybe they don't get it, maybe they don't want it, maybe they don't have capacity. And you can start analyzing that and seeing what you can do to improve the situation. And then we're starting to think about, are they a C player, a B player, or an A player? Okay. Now, the final thing I wanted to quickly touch on is goals, like the worthy goals, the worthy cause of the organization, and individual people's alignment with that. It is important to start with why. Starting with why and saying, what's the worthy cause? What's the campaign that your organization, your industry, like a contracting company or a building company might be saying, we're here to create amazing spaces for people to have an amazing life. And how we do that is we build houses and we build condominiums and apartments. And so that's how we help people have an amazing life. And that's the worthy cause of the construction company. And so when people start, you can say, our vision and our mission is to build amazing spaces for people to have amazing lives. And so people will say, well, you can come on that journey with us. We're going to have a lot of fun figuring out how we're going to do that, all the different ways we can do that, help people have amazing lives, living in amazing spaces. And that may be the same space, same similar vision or mission or why for an architectural practice, to have people to be inspired to live an amazing life by coming into a creative space that really considers all of their emotional experiences filled with light, access to nature, and incredible construction materials. That may be the why of an architectural practice. And so then the team will then, people rally around that cause. They rally around that worthy cause and that worthy mission, the why, if you like. If you don't know what I'm talking about regarding the why, there's a great viral video by Simon Sinek on YouTube. It's got 7, 8, 9 million views, and it's Start With Why. He talks about the golden circles, the why, the how, and the what. And so when someone new starts at your organization, don't talk about what you do, talk about why you do it. People don't buy what you do, they buy why you do it. So as a leader who is growing a team and continuing to improve a team and rebuilding teams, we need to make sure we've got that right. So that is really important, because then you can look at values alignment. You can look at whether someone gets it, wants it, has capacity. If you want to achieve high performance with your teams, if you want to achieve great results with your teams, some of this pre-work is really important, and it's absolutely fundamental to help your organization to improve. If you're coaching out of poor performance, if you're bringing people out of poor performance, you've still got to do the same work. And so it's important to acknowledge that, because we can use these really simple tips and tricks to help us build these teams and help us move forward. Now, of course, there are other aspects to leadership which we can talk about in terms of how we handle poor performance, and what do we do with people that are maybe C players, how do we diplomatically offboard them, how do we do it with love, and how do we help them find another place where they're going to be happy. You can't make everybody happy, by the way, which you've probably already heard. It's nearly impossible to keep everybody happy. So you've just got to pick and choose the people you're going to look after. You've got to look after your B players. Most importantly, you've got to look after your A players, because your A players is what is really helping your organization to succeed. Okay. Hello, Matt Jenkin. Good to see you. Hello, Stan Wall. Good to have your team on board. I hope this has been very helpful. Hopefully you've heard all this before, but you are hopefully able to campaign this. So does this mean you guys aren't getting any work done this morning? But always good to have you guys on the live stream. So here on LinkedIn. Hello to anyone watching on YouTube. And if you're watching after the recording, it's always good to see everybody on YouTube. Let me know where you are watching from in the world. So if you come back to the recording on YouTube, I've got a huge dashboard up here on the wall where I can see everybody and all of the comments. So we're only going to make this a quick, short session this morning. So it's really about scaling up. I can highly recommend, and I would recommend you purchase a copy of this. I don't get any money from this, but it is a great book that we recommend, and there's a people section. And that people question that I asked at the beginning of the video, Vern Harnish is a great guy, absolutely campaigning that you get a copy of his book. You can buy it from all your favorite booksellers. We don't get any kickbacks from this, but we really like the work that's been put together in the Scaling Up book. And we recommend that organizations use this and jump into their system and follow their system, because there's some great stuff that you can pick up from this. And there's some great templates. And the people introduction really starts with, are all stakeholders, employees, customers, shareholders, happy and engaged in the business, and would you rehire all of them? It's an incredible question. And then there's some really great templates. There's the one-page personal plan, and we can get into that in another video. But as a leader, it's starting to understand what individual people's goals are and helping them to move through that. And then the function accountability chart and the process accountability chart. So you can actually start to map out people's roles and responsibilities. That's all available in this book, Scaling Up. I think we pay around about $30 Australian for these. I buy them in bulk. I give them out as gifts. And obviously we highly recommend you immerse yourself in the Vern Harnish network and the Gazelles companies. Scalingup.com is their website. I highly recommend it. It's fantastic. So if you want more information on those programs and any other programs, we can connect you with relevant people. And we do integrate some of the tools and techniques and the learning outcomes from that in the high performance coaching that we do here at Best Practice. One of the services that we're building off the back of Best Practice is the facilitation and coaching of high-performance teams to help your company rapidly grow and scale, keep busting through glass ceilings as you go, and show you the journey that we've been on and bring you along on that same journey so that you can help your company to be a great place to work, a great place to buy from, and to be a profitable investment for the shareholders and owners of the organization, and that you can continue to campaign your worthy cause, which is excellent. Okay, see you, Stan. Thank you for joining us. So, okay, that's really all I was going to talk about today. Lots going on Instagram, huge amount going on in polls on LinkedIn. So if there's anything interesting you're seeing on LinkedIn, make sure you hit that we've produced. Make sure you hit the like button and engage in those polls, because we're collecting a huge amount of data, which is really exciting. Okay, that's going to be everything from us here at Best Practice. I'm going to get back to work. I've got lots to get on with today. I've got a busy week. I really enjoyed jumping on. We'll be same time next week, live here on LinkedIn, YouTube, recording the audio for the Talking Business segment on our podcast platform, and lots of great content coming out on Instagram. If you're not following me on Instagram, jump on. And if you are seeing posts from me on Instagram, make sure you hit that like button and let me know in the comments what you thought of each of the posts, because the team's doing a great job bringing all of that together. Okay, that's it from me. If you don't see me right here on Best Practice TV, you definitely see me out there on LinkedIn as we're posting every day. And that's round about it. Any questions from you guys? No? All good. Okay. You don't see me on Instagram, you don't see me on Facebook, you don't see me on LinkedIn, you definitely see me right here next time on Best Practice TV. Bye for now.